So the first day of ranked has wrapped up, and I am once again a top 100 player in the world. Today we had not only the first day of ranked, which gave me a lot of knowledge into the meta, but we also had a very large tournament. I don't believe it's completed yet. Maybe just the first portion of the tournament has completed, but we got some very interesting deck list out of there. So today, even though we just did a meta update yesterday, it's the beginning of the meta. Things are changing so rapidly. I want to share with you where the meta stands right now, because it is honestly completely different from what I talked about yesterday. If you guys are looking for the #1 place to stay up to date on the meta from a real ranked grinder, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. Okay, I would show you that I'm top 100 on my desktop, but for some reason it hasn't updated yet, so I'll just like quickly flash it on my phone, and hopefully you can freeze frame and see there that I am top 100. I don't know. Oh, that might work. All right. So let's go over some of the decks that I've been playing, and then I want to show you guys some of the deck lists that are doing well in tournaments right now. So first I want to start with, you know what, before we get into that, let me just talk about the meta overall. What am I seeing so far? So the really big decks that I run into a lot, in the beginning, it was a lot of Charizard and Incineroar. They're starting to become a little bit more sparse. I feel like decks are just equipped to deal with it. There's a lot of Dark Tina going around with a lot of Mars/Red card, which is kind of making those solo stage 2 decks struggle just a little bit. A lot of Dark Tina. I don't know what you guys are doing. There's so many more fun cards out. You just had a month of nonstop Dark Tina. Why are we doing it again? Anyways, so a lot of Dark Tina, a lot of Solgaleo, and a lot of Meowscarada with some fighting stuff sprinkled in. There's quite a bit of Rampardos. Rampardos is just a fan favorite. Everyone loves the deck, love playing it, so you see quite a bit of fighting as well. That's mainly what we're running into. So I'm going to show you guys what decks did I use to get here. And first I want to start with this one's risky. Okay, this one's risky. I'll come out and say it. And we're going to talk about my Oricorio deck list. This deck list, if you hit the right matchup, oh, GG's, you win. It's that simple. It's very, very simple. We have the Tapu Koko in order to deal like extra damage while pivoting back into the Oricorio. Tapu Koko to 70, and then you switch it with one of your benched lightning Pokemon. So you can go Tapu Koko, switch into the Oricorio if the Oricorio's damage isn't quite doing enough. The Pikachu is here as the late game attacker, and then just the one of Pachirisu. It's here for a few different reasons. It feels pretty good to start Pachirisu. I don't think I would ever want two, because you do want to just find your double Oricorio very quickly. But when you start it, it's nice to get a couple plasmas off and attach a few extra energy into play. Pachirisu doesn't really live that long. It's also nice to have something in the active spot that you're gonna sacrifice, because you usually don't want Oricorio in the active spot in the early game, because a lot of decks' answers to Oricorio are all early game stuff. Think of Skarmory, Solgaleo. Their Skarmories are going to be attacking very early. You kind of want a buffer between your Oricorios and that Skarmory to get set up. Same thing with like the Incineroar decks or the Charizard decks. You know, the only thing they can attack you with are Torracats, Littens, Charmanders, and Charmeleons. So if you could just offer a little bit of a buffer to get your board stabilized, it's going to feel a lot better. We play a lot of heals in this deck. Very, very important against Darkrai Tina. Darkrai Tina matchup has felt like honestly kind of free. As long as you don't brick, if you could just find your two Oricorio, you're going to keep drawing into your healing cards and just be able to go Potion, Pokemon Center Lady, and just live forever, all while setting up the Pikachu on the bench. You just have to get through one of their Pokemon, and then Pikachu can kind of nuke whatever. The Celestic Town Elder has not really felt great, honestly. It's a nice idea. I like having it there so you can force your opponent to go through 3 Oricorios in some matchups. But to be honest, this deck is really just hit the right matchup and you're gonna win. If you hit Meowscarada or Fighting, Meowscarada is possible. It's definitely possible. I've won games against it, but something like Fighting, there's just almost no chance that you're gonna win. So you're really just, if you feel like you're running into a lot of Dark Tina, you can queue this deck. If you feel like you're running into a lot of Charizard, Solgaleo Skarmory is doable. I've probably won more than I've lost to Solgaleo Skarmory, but that is a tighter matchup. So this is like the troll deck I'm running. I don't think Oricorio is that good. I don't think it's something to like really fear, because so many decks have just built-in answers to Oricorio, and there's a lot of non-EX decks out there right now. There's Rampardos and there's Meowscarada stuff. So it's not like Oricorio is all that great. It's just kind of a, I'm feeling like I might get a free win here if I queue with Oricorio, so I'm going to do it. It's really just some soul reading stuff. Now I'll talk about Solgaleo Skarmory. Definitely my favorite way to play it. I tried out the Excadrill list and don't love it. Don't love it. Don't love that I have to go find my Excadrills. I just like that Skarmory is there, is ready to do 50 damage on turn 1 basically every single time. We're playing the 2-1-2 Solgaleo line. I don't like that some people are running a 2-2 line. I really, there's very few decks I'm a fan of 2-2 lines with 2 rare candies and ignoring the stage 1. Solgaleo is definitely not one of them. Having the Cosmoem is fantastic. We're going aggro on the tool cards. Only the 1 giant cape, and then 2 Rocky Helmet and 1 Poison Barb. This is just going to help your Skarmory put out even more damage as it gets damaged into. And then we have a Sabrina, an Iono, and a Lily. Lily has felt pretty great in the list. I like Lily healing that extra damage from Solgaleo. It's just felt good. It's just felt good. I really enjoy this list. And also, one thing you guys gotta think about, and you have to be weaving into your gameplay, is the Cosmoem attack. The Cosmoem attack, it just makes Cosmoem take 50 less damage during your turn. There are times where Cosmoem will buy you a turn because like nothing's gonna do 150 damage to it. It's kind of hard. There's few cards that can do that, and just putting the Cosmoem in the active spot, it's really like you throw Cosmoem up there and say, I hope my opponent doesn't have Sabrina or Cyrus to just win them the game. If they don't, I go Cosmoem, and then I evolve to Solgaleo, and I win. So it's just a really, really cool deck. I'm a big fan of Solgaleo. I think Solgaleo is one of the best decks. Maybe like just based on, new card, new attacker from the set, Solgaleo is probably the best new attacker. So this is a fantastic one. This one I couldn't recommend more for rank. The Oricorio one, again, that's just for fun and laughs. This Solgaleo deck, I would absolutely play that Solgaleo deck. Now, I want to move on to Meowscarada. I got a couple different Meowscarada versions I want to show you guys. This one is Meowscarada Serena. Meowscarada Serena, it's all basic, 1 prize. Guys, the Serena can be ridiculous. If you start Bound Sweep, and you can just go Rare Candy into Serena and just start using the 3-kit combo and just putting out massive damage very, very quickly, it feels really, really good. Other than that, I mean, hey, it's just a Meowscarada deck. You guys know what Meowscarada does. I love the Guzma in here. The Guzma has felt so good because, again, there's a lot of Darktina around. What do Darktinas love to do? They love to put a cape on that Darkrai and start trying to swing early. You can punch that with the Guzma. Just go Guzma, get rid of that tool. And now Meowscarada is one-shotting that Darkrai in return. So a big fan of the Guzma in this list. Also stops you from hurting yourself into Rocky Helmets. Very important against Solgaleo. You do not want to hit into a Solgaleo that has a helmet if you don't have your Leaf Cape available for your Meowscarada. And also just getting rid of their Giant Cape can be useful in some circumstances. Yeah, just a big fan of this deck. Meowscarada is super, super strong right now. There's a ton of ways to play it. I'm going to show you the other way I have Meowscarada built. This might be it. This is it. Okay. Meowscarada Decidueye. Now, the nice thing about Decidueye is we kind of get to say, all right, we don't really need Cyrus is like not a necessity because we have the Decidueye who's just going to essentially act as our Cyrus and just put damage wherever we want it to. And then the Sabrina, take it or leave it. I like having Mars in here. Mars is just super, super powerful right now. As you're playing Meowscarada decks, you're going to get hit by a lot of Mars yourself because you're going to cry for help. Your opponent's going to go, well, they got 4 or 5 cards in their hand, and one of them is definitely a grass Pokemon that's going to help them evolve. We got to get rid of that hand. So you're going to get hit by Mars quite a bit with this deck. And the Mars is just good into other stage 2 decks. If your opponent goes turn 1 research and has 5 cards in their hand, and there's a decent chance they got the Rare Candy plus stage 2 combo in their hand, it's fine to just go for that Mars right then and there, set them back down to 3 while you try to push your lead forward. Mars is just very, very strong right now. Not a lot of decks are playing it. I feel like it might be like the start of whatever that last format was, Shining Revelry. Shining Revelry, Mars was not really a staple in a lot of decks, and by the end of the format, you had some people playing 2 copies of Mars in their deck. I feel like it's going to be similar to this. As we progress on, people are going to realize like, oh, okay, Mars is gross. We need to find space for it. But it also might just be a symptom of Mars disrupts stage 2s, but stage 2s need a lot of space in their deck. So you don't really have the room for it. We'll see how the meta progresses. But even right now, Mars is very, very strong. So now we'll check out this deck. This is how I was playing Rampardos today. We did do fairly well with it, but for me personally, I will always say it, I'm not the biggest fan of Rampardos, even with the rare candy making it, you know, not as big a deal if I didn't find the Skull Fossil early, because you can, you know, if you find the Skull Fossil, it essentially gives you one less turn to get into the Rampardos when you find the Skull Fossil. Sorry, you don't need to find the Skull Fossil and then manually evolve into Kratos, manually evolve into Rampardos. You can find the Skull Fossil and then next turn your rare candy into Rampardos. That took a while to say that, but I still don't love it. I still don't love looking for my Skull Fossils, and this deck especially, there's not a lot of basics in here, and it feels like I run out of attackers kind of quickly. You can just win the game by getting a very quick Rampardos and just kind of overwhelming your opponent's board. The Lycanroc is a really, really cool attacker. He does 50 damage, and if your opponent has more HP remaining than you, you do 50 more. So against anything with more than 100 HP, you're going to do 100 damage to. And then as Lycanroc starts to get weakened through attacks, that threshold is going to be a lot lower. So it's a very cool deck. It's a very, very fun deck. I'm just not personally the biggest fan of Rampardos. Never have been. My opponents always seem to get the Skull Fossil turn 1 into the Rampardos rare candy. Me, not so lucky. Rest of the deck, you know, we got the Mars. I like Mars once again for all the reasons I just explained. The red, boost the damage, get Rampardos up to doing 150. Maybe even the Lycanroc 120, but less relevant than the Rampardos doing 150. One Sabrina, one Cyrus. Very, very fun deck, but this one, you know, I played it. I got my wins in with it, and then I kind of abandoned it. Didn't really want to play it anymore. But I'm going to show you now my favorite deck. My favorite deck. This one, I can't even take credit for. I'm not going to take credit for. Most of the other decks I can't really take credit for. I just look for lists and then I tweak them as I go. But this idea is so cool. And this list right here is doing very, very well in a tournament right now. They're currently 7-0. And I think, again, we just have to wait till the back half of the tournament. I don't think they did the top 16, top 32, whatever. No, they didn't. I just checked it right now. But this deck is 7-0. Top of it's the first seed, and their opponent's win percentage, which basically means how well did their opponents do, is insanely high. Like, it is one of the highest out of the entire tournament. So this player fought only good players and did incredibly well with this deck. So what is going on here? We have Snorlax-Greninja and then the Giratina. I have some people, as I was playing it, they said they didn't really get the point of the Giratina. The Giratina is there to be a threat, a guy that you can start charging up if things are starting to slow down in the game, and just sort of create that board state where your opponent knows they can't win. He's also really important for like Solgaleo. Your Snorlaxes are probably not going to get through a Solgaleo on their own, especially now that a lot of Solgaleo lists are playing Lily. You're not going to be able to go Snorlax into a Greninja attack to knock out a Solgaleo if they weave that Lily in there somewhere. But with the Giratina's damage cap is pretty high with the Greninja, right? You're hitting that 150 without needing a red or anything like that. And that is going to be enough after a Snorlax attack to take out a Solgaleo. So I really like the Giratina in here. I wouldn't get rid of it. The only thing that sucks about Giratina is when you start it, but that only happens 1 out of every 5 games. Even less because you can start multiple basics. Now, how do you play this deck? Well, if you really want to know, you can go watch my live stream. We played it for quite a while and did fairly well. And I played it, you know, at a decent level. It's on stream, so I do get a little bit distracted and start to misplay here or there. But the main idea is just you put that Snorlax in the active spot. You start building up either the active Snorlax or the Snorlax on the bench, depending on the situation in front of you. Use Berry to attack early. Greninja's gonna fix up damage numbers for you. You have the Rocky Helmet and the Poison Barb to fix things. Oh, this is the only change I made. I changed double Poison Barb to 1 Poison Barb, 1 Rocky Helmet. That's the only change I've made to this list. And honestly, I think I might like double Rocky Helmet more. Well, they're both good in different situations. The Poison Barb is good if and only if you are not relying on, you know, like using a Snorlax attack, and then you put your opponent down to 40 HP, but they already attacked into a Poison Barb, so now they're down to 30 HP, and then you want to go Greninja Ping to finish it off, but they haven't quite taken all the damage they need. Like the Poison Barb tick is going to knock them out, not the Greninja Ping. And in those circumstances, Rocky Helmet would have just been better, because instead of being left with 30, they would have been at 20, because they would have taken the 20 damage from the Rocky Helmet up front. So I like having the split because of that reason. Sometimes you do need it. If I didn't explain that well enough, you'll see it as you play it, and you'll go, oh, that's what Tilly was talking about. Okay, I see. I understand. Much easier to see things than for Tilly to explain, because he's not smart. Yeah, so you use the Snorlax. The Greninja is going to ping damage everywhere, fix up your damage numbers, and then Giratina is like the late game option. This Snorlax walls so incredibly well against these decks in the meta. The Irida and the Pokemon Center Lady, I really like the split, because there are times where Snorlax will not wake up after collapse, and Pokemon Center Lady, even if he's taken no damage, can heal that special condition. He doesn't have to be damaged for you to use Pokemon Center Lady. It is a very, very cool deck, really fun. If you guys have been here since the beginning of the channel, Greninja is my favorite card in the game, and this deck feels like a true Greninja deck. We are using Greninja all the time. We're strategically placing our damage counters. Also, sometimes you can just get into a fast Greninja and just kind of win the game outright against some of those littler fighting type decks. If you go into a fast Greninja, it's really hard for them to keep up, especially because you have Cyrus, and you can kind of just, if you have that Cyrus and the fast Greninja, you could just pick whatever Pokemon you're going to knock out against them. Super, super fun. I really love it. Can't say enough good things about Greninja. And that's really going to be it for the decks that I played to get to top 100 ranked. So let's hop over to the tournament, and I'll show you some of the coolest deck lists out of there that are performing very, very well. All right, this first one is very, very cool. It is Arceus Carnivine with Crobat. This deck becomes a lot better now that we have Rare Candy. It is really, really scary to play against. I haven't played any games with it myself, but playing against it, when your opponent is able to go turn 2, Rare Candy into Crobat, start doing 30 damage extra, it's really disgusting. And this deck is another one that has done very, very well in the tournament. It went 6-1, but again, all of the opponents, like I was talking about early, all of the opponents that they played against were very, very high caliber players. They did very, very well in the tournament as well. So they were only winning against fantastic players in the tournament. You know, if you guys have been watching the channel for a little bit of time now, you know that I'm a big fan of Arceus Carnivine, and I really, really like this. We are just able to boost the damage of our Carnivine, of our Arceus, and yes, this deck is only going to be playing Grass Energy. Attacking with the Crobat would be nice. It would be good, but you do want to make sure that you're able to attack with that Carnivine as soon as possible. He's kind of the early game attacker. He's more reliable than getting the Crobat into play. And then after that, you just start building up the Arceus on the bench, and once the Arceus is ready to go, with the red and the Crobat, you can hit for some absurd numbers with Arceus. You can one-shot pretty much anything in front of you, as long as they don't have a giant cape. So very, very cool deck. Again, we're also using the Mars here. Mars, very, very important. Mars is going to allow us to set those, what are they? Sorry, the EX decks, the Stage 2 EX decks, set their hand down to 3 after they've used a research, and just keep them from getting set up while we apply a lot of pressure with the Carnivine, or maybe even the Golbat if we need to. So this deck is not playing any sort of switching cards. I can already tell starting Arceus is going to suck. If it happens, it just kind of is what it is. You just hope that it doesn't happen. I mean, you're running 7 basics. It's only a 2 out of 7 chance. Once again, even less than that, because you have so many basics in your deck that it's very rare that you're going to start with only an Arceus in your hand, but it does happen. And when it happens, it kind of is what it is. It's really hard to crawl back from games where you start lone Arceus, unless your opponent's off to slow enough of a start that you can just attach the Arceus 3 times and start attacking outright with it. Once again, just a very, very cool list. I'm super excited to give this a try. I was trying Arceus Carnivine with Crobat. in the last format, but it just wasn't fast enough in order to keep up with what was going on in the meta. But now with Rare Candy, I think it has a much, much better shot at keeping up with all of the decks in the format. Now we've got an Incineroar list. I talked about Incineroar yesterday, but this is the best performing Incineroar list of today in this tournament, and it has some interesting things going on. We have the Turtonator and the Kiawe. Now, this could be just because simply the opponent or the player here was worried about running into Oricorio. In the top 64, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 Oricorios. So, like, once again, the Oricorio is not really everywhere. There's too many decks that have answers to Oricorio. So, the Turtonator is probably just here as a nice little supplemental attacker. I mean, if you start Turtonator plus Kiawe, you can start dishing out 90 damage very, very quickly. It's a good secondary attacker to the Incineroar, and is probably just gives you a little bit more time, because you're not going to start with the Litten into Rare Candy and Incineroar every single game. And in those cases, maybe you have the Turtonator and the Kiawe, and you can still get off to that fast start that Incineroar hopes to get off to. Also, once Incineroar is set up, it's just very hard to deal with. So, like, forcing your opponent to go through a Turtonator first is really, really cool. I think this list is sick. We played the double Serena just to be super aggressive, even more aggressive. Get whatever is in the active spot out of there. Just start dealing with the bench Pokemon. Really, really cool list. I'm happy to see that Turtonator has a home, because I had a lot more faith in Turtonator than I did the Alolan Marowak. Bad card, stupid card. I hate Boomerang attacks. Yeah, just really excited to see it. Kiawe is a very, very cool supporter, very unique supporter. So happy that it seems to have found a home in these Incineroar list. Okay, now we're going to talk about the Crabominable. And I have 2 different lists to show you. They are just very slight variations. One of them is playing Palkia, one of them isn't. But they're both, the ones that did very well today are both playing the Greninja. We're not doing the 2 Crabominable, 1 Palkia deck. We have the Greninja here to buff the damage, which I like. I really like it. It reminds me of the old days when we were on Exeggutor Greninja. Real Tilly fans know that deck list. It was super, super fun. But now we have Crabominable Greninja, and it's just really cool because Crabominable is just Exeggutor that will, after 1 turn, get that guaranteed 80 damage every single turn. Super cool card. I like it a lot. I need to try some games with this as well. I really should, because I have all my Crabominables, and it's right up my alley. All right, big, beefy EX that is going to be doing consistent damage for low energy cost. You know, that's my kind of thing. Plus with the Greninja as well, man, this deck is like made for me. So let's hop over. I'll show you the other version of the list. Just some slight differences. No Palkia. We're running a Frogadier just to get into the Greninjas a little bit more confidently. Now, I think I probably like the Palkia version more just from my personal experience playing, you know, Exeggutor Greninja. You always wanted like a big endgame attacker, and I always love having the big endgame attacker, knowing that that's there, because otherwise I'm capped out at dealing 100 damage max per turn, 120 if I somehow found my way into 2 Greninjas. But I like having the option of Palkia because he's going to be able to hit for 170 with that Greninja snipe as well, once the game has progressed enough that I have been able to attach to my Palkia enough. So I would probably like this list just a little bit more. The fact that we have the Palkia in here is very, very nice. But overall, again, very cool. Just a super aggressive deck. You have the Greninja, so you get to have fun with your Water Shurikens, and then Palkia to finish off the game at the end. Yeah, super, super cool. Not going to spend a lot of time on this. Just want to show you where Rampardos-Lucario is at. This was the best performing Rampardos-Lucario list. So if you are still a believer in Rampardos-Lucario, how many times can I say Rampardos-Lucario? I do not know. This is what I would play. Make some tweaks to your liking, but this seems to be what is doing the best. The Lily here, I've only played very limited games with Lily, so I don't know how valuable the Lily actually is, but it's nice that you can prevent Rampardos from knocking itself out with the Lily in certain situations. I would be doing you guys a disservice if I did not show you this deck right here. This was a well-performing Wishiwashi. They actually started the tournament out 5-0. They ended up 5-2, but they're still in top 64, so who knows? Maybe they make top 8 at this tournament by the end of it. We're Wishiwashi, 2 Wishiwashi, 2 Wishiwashi. Double Misty, double Irida, double Leaf. It is a super, super consistent deck list. There's not much to it. You're sort of just playing the supporter cards as you need them to, and you just try to set up for that big Wishiwashi attack. You have the fishing net to recover your little Wishiwashis as they go down after using Call for Family to get all your guys in play. It's just it's a fun deck list. It does feel a little high rolly from when I played Wishiwashi. It can be a little bit difficult because when you use that one attachment on Wishiwashi to call for family, it usually means by the time you're ready to attack with Wishiwashi EX, you don't quite have all the attachments you need, so you're sort of relying on at least one Misty Flip to keep you in the game. It's the reason why I put down Wishiwashi after playing it at the start of the meta. But this list seemed to work for them. Again, this could have just been they were high rolling like crazy. They were hitting all the Misties they needed to in order to win these games. But Wishiwashi, it's a scary card. If you do well, if you do fine on your Misty Flips, it just has 170 HP and it does 150 damage if you have all your Wishiwashi in play. It is ridiculously scary. Irida to heal it up, Red to push that damage all the way up to 170. Not quite going to knock out some of the stage 2s, but it's going to get pretty dang close. And Wishiwashi is probably not going to get knocked out by any of them in return. Yeah, I think this is a very, very fun list. I probably won't be playing it in Master Ball tier because I'm a little bit too worried about not high rolling and getting punished on my usually 0 head flip on Misty. So, but if you want to have some fun in Pokemon Pocket with Wishiwashi, yeah, this is probably the list I would go with. All right, I don't know about you guys, but I have been rolled by this deck on the ladder. This is Chatot, Rampardos, Aerodactyl. A lot of cool things happening here. Chatot is going to cycle through the deck. This seems to be the first time that Chatot has actually been able to do something in the meta, and that's because now Aerodactyl is super powerful, right? A fast Aerodactyl can shut down any stage 2 decks that look to, evolve in the active spot. Think like the Charizard deck, the Incineroar deck. A quick Aerodactyl could just shut them down completely. Rampardos, we just try to get into Rampardos, and with Chatot cycling through our deck as much as possible, we're just trying to play down all of the cards in our hand and then mimic and take whatever amount of cards our opponent has as our new hand. It is very, very scary. You can cycle through your deck so quickly. You will get to Rampardos in a lot of games if your opponent is not able to just, play their hand down perfectly. And because of how decks are built now, a lot of stage 2s, a lot of evolution pieces going around, it's not as easy to play your hand down as it used to be. Like when Chatot was first an idea, it felt very easy when you saw a Chatot to play your hand all the way down to 2 or 3 cards. Doesn't really feel like the case anymore. You are often using Mimic for 5 cards, 4 cards, which is plenty enough to help you along in getting these evolution pieces, getting the fossils down. Yeah, this is a very, very scary deck, and if you are not able to limit your hand size in those early turns while your opponent is trying to set up, you are going to have a really hard time winning that game, because any deck dealing with 2 Rampardos and then maybe an Aerodactyl to finish off the game, it is like almost unwinnable. It is a very, very hard board state to get through if they are able to set up. All right, I mentioned earlier the Oricorio list that we're doing well. I'm going to show you this one because I think it's the coolest. And I also showed you the Oricorio Magnezone list yesterday in yesterday's video. So Oricorio-Luxray, I mean, it's super, super simple. We're playing a decent amount of healing. I say decent amount. It's 3 healing cards. I would probably like a second Pokemon Center Lady from my Oricorio experiences. More heal is better to keep this guy alive. But then we have the Luxray. Luxray is just going to be a great attacker, being able to snipe damage anywhere. So if our opponent is not attacking with that, maybe non-EX Pokemon that Oricorio is going to be afraid of, well, we can use Luxray and just snipe it off the board, deal with it. 120 is also a lot. That can close out games. Oricorio can kind of zap something for 50, and then most cards in the format, Luxray will be able to just finish off with Volt Bolt. So this deck seems very, very cool. The only thing I'd be worried about is actually finding enough Pokemon to stay alive, right? It could be really difficult to find 4 basics in order to prevent it, or at least double Oricorio, so then you're safe from EX cards, Sabrinas, and all of that. Guzma to take some tools off. Volkner to recharge that Luxray, maybe fire off 2 Luxray attacks back to back, and then just double Rare Candy, double Giant Cape. Yeah, Giant Cape is super important for Oricorio as well. I would never want another tool card on Oricorio that isn't Giant Cape. Just the damage numbers. You think if you're attacking to a Skarmory with a Rocky Helmet, you need the Cape so you don't get knocked out. Against Darkrai Giratina, the Giant Cape helps a lot with keeping it alive. You do have to worry about Guzma against Darkrai Giratina for sure, but for the most part, the Giant Cape will keep your Oricorio healthy for just that additional turn. Just never let it fall below 20 HP, or, sorry, never let it fall below 40 HP, because your opponent could go Guzma plus Darkrai Ping, and then you're in trouble, which is one of the reasons why I say that I personally like using 2 Pokemon Center Ladies, but I do like the idea of the Giovanni, because like I was talking about, that Skarmory, that Giovanni is going to allow your Oricorio to one-shot a Skarmory that has a Rocky Helmet instead of a Giant Cape on it. Yeah, a very cool deck list, very troll deck list. Maybe this one's better than the one I showed you at the start of the video. Definitely could be. Oricorio is just kind of strong enough that, once again, if you hit those matchups where Oricorio just sort of walls them out entirely, you have a really high percentage chance of winning. The other cards don't really matter all that much. Luxray, though, probably gives you a much better chance against some of those Meowscarada decks. Fighting decks, it's probably still a wash, but against Meowscarada, I'm sure Luxray gives you a decent enough chance against them. And then the last deck I want to show you, hopefully you guys are excited to see a Lunala deck doing well, because I know I am. So we're playing 2 Cosmog, 2 Lunala, 2 Giratina, 1 Mewtwo, and 1 Tapu Lele. So this is it's just a psychic toolbox, right? The idea is that you have the Giratina. He's going to Broken Space Bellow, get all of your psychic energy into play. And then once you have Lunala, you are able to leaf out of the Greninja or the Giratina. Maybe the Giratina has been soaking up some damage and you want to attack with Mewtwo, or you want to attack with another Giratina on the bench, or you want to attack with Lunala. You just have a bunch of options here. And the leaf plus Giratina combo, once you get it out of Lunala, is going to allow you to pick any of these Pokemon you want to attack with. The Tapu Lele is super cool because it sort of almost negates the need for us to play a Cyrus. I mean, Giratina is doing 130, Mewtwo's doing 150. Pretty decent odds that the Tapu Lele is going to be able to finish off whatever has retreated to the bench, as long as they didn't discard all of their energy doing so. Tapu Lele could also just, be a really menacing threat at the start of the game. If you attach to that Tapu Lele and your opponent's building up something on the bench slowly, not a lot of decks doing that in the format, but if you run into those situations, well, you can just start using Tapu Lele. You're going to be doing 40 damage, 60 damage every single turn with that Lele. It's just a really, really cool deck. I like it a lot because we have so many attacking options, and that to me is some of the most fun you can have in Pokemon Pocket, are these toolbox style decks. So I am a really big fan of this. As soon as I get a second Lunala, I'm going to be trying it out, but I'm glad to see that at least one Lunala deck was able to do decent in a tournament, because I just really like the card. I think it's super unique and offers a very fun way of playing the Pokemon Pocket game. And that's going to be it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you sub to the channel, like the video on your way out. Have a good one, guys.